latest episode of Above the Fire. I'm your host today, Chef Ali, and today we're going to do a very wonderful preparation of an angel hair wrapped shrimp. We're going to serve it over a spring mix salad, make a fresh vinaigrette to go with it, and it's going to be a wonderful, awesome time together. Very simple, very tasty. Walk with me, I'll show you what goes in it and how to put it together.
Alright, good.
So let's get started. These are all ingredients right here. We're going to put together the shrimp wrapped in angel hair pasta. We've got our salad, and we're going to make a fresh vinaigrette. So first off, we've got jumbo-sized shrimp. These are pretty nice. They are shelled, pretty much fresh, except for the head off. So luckily we don't have to do that part, but we still have to de-shell them and devein them, which is take that nasty strip out the back. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. We've got our angel hair pasta right here. We've got water boiling over there, so it'll be ready when we get to that step. That's the first part. Next part is the salad. We've got our spring mix right here, and spring mix is a blend of a few different lettuces. It's typically spinach, radicchio, frisee, and sometimes a little romaine in there. These are all greens that are grown during the springtime. That's why it's called a spring mix, and they are usually typically baby varieties, meaning early, smaller versions of everything just mentioned. You can make it yourself at home. That's a lot more work than I want to do right now, or that's typically necessary. They usually do a good job of it in the store. You can get spring mix from pretty much any grocery store you go to. So we've got the store-bought spring mix already put together. We've cleaned it, washed it, dried it off. It's ready to go. Now on top of it, we're gonna top it off with some blue cheese crumbles, which is this right here. We're gonna take some blood orange, and we're gonna peel and segment so we get all the peel off of it, and it's just ready to go in your mouth. We also have some walnuts, which we're gonna top off, sprinkle on. And then we're going to make a vinaigrette from scratch. I'll show you how to do that. It involves a food processor, or you can do it by hand with a whisk and a bowl, but you're going to do a whole lot of work. Luckily, we have advances in technology to where I can use a food processor that does the whipping for me. But basically, when you're making a vinaigrette, you take olive oil and you blend it together, and then you add vinegar slowly to the process. We have a couple other additions we're going to put into the vinaigrette as well, just to kick it up a notch. We've got some marinara. We've got some chili sauce, sweet chili sauce actually, and we've also got some sriracha, which is a hot chili sauce. And we're just going to put that together at the end to add a nice little kick to the vinaigrette. So let's get started putting all these ingredients together. Okay, so the first step is to get these shrimp ready. We're going to bring these over here, and like I say, you have to de-shell them and then devein them. So, a simple process to de-shell the shrimp. If you hold the tail and squeeze from right here at the top, typically, if you bring down one side, kind of hold it, and the other side should just pull off together, so you don't have to like peel both sides. Hold the tail, pull off one side, peel off the other. We'll do it again. Hold the tail, peel off one side, pull it off, whole other side should come together. And then also just go back over it, make sure you get all the shell parts off of it. And I did say we had to devein it as well, but I'm looking and seeing these shrimp were shelled already, but not. They were shelled, but already deveined. Typically, if they're shelled, they still have to be deveined, but this particular variety have been shelled already, or are still shelled, but have already been deveined. So when I say deveined, it's a strip right here that's, usually the skin is closed, the strip is inside. You can kind of see it, because shrimp before you cook them are transparent. It's usually inside here. Typically, you have to take your knife, run it across the back, open that strip up, and then pull that vein out. The reason that we take that vein out, because that is actually the intestinal tract of the shrimp, where all their waste goes through. So we definitely want to take that out before we consume or cook any shrimp. That's why we devein them. But I've instructed you how to do it, even though I can't necessarily show you how to do it, because thankfully somebody did that part for me already. So just moving on, we're shelling these shrimp. I'm just going to do a few of them now. I'll do the rest later. We'll do enough for the dish.
It's the proper portion.
We've got about 6 right now. I think that's a good start. So we'll move on to the next step. It's angel hair wrapped shrimp. So we've got our shrimp now. We need to get the angel hair ready. We've got our shrimp ready. We need to get the angel hair pasta going. I've got boiling water over here, and we're gonna step to the side and cook the pasta off and show you how to put that together. Once the pasta's ready, we're gonna bring it back over here, wrap the shrimp up, and get it ready to cook the shrimp off. It's been cooked and ready to wrap. So what we do, we're going to start off with one string. Take it, again, hold the tail. Start off with like basically like this. Okay, just have a little bit on the end. And then we're going to take the rest of this and wrap it on around the shrimp. Can we start over?
Just keep going.
Okay, so we've got our pasta prepared right here. It's been cooked, chilled, and ready to go. We're going to start off. You're going to kind of set it up like that. A little bit of the tip out. Rest of it hanging. So we're going to wrap it around. And actually, you're going to need a few pieces, probably about 3 or so per shrimp. Now, as you wrap it, you want to make it tight so it's on there, but you don't want to make it too tight so it breaks. That might sound difficult, but it's not at all. Just don't pull it. You're not tightening the screw on the refrigerator. You just want to make sure it stays close to it. And I said 3, but it actually looks like it's 5 we're going to use. This is number 4. You see how I said don't do it too tightly? And just broke off, but that's fine. Put it back and continue on. Should be the last one we use. Now, one other tip as well, as you're doing this, you may want to either rinse the pasta off throughout the process, or just keep a bowl of water that you can dip the pasta in, because pasta is very starchy. That's why you don't want to rinse it off too much. Typically you want to try to keep the starch in there so the sauce sticks to it. But as it sits, it gets dry and the starch comes out. So it gets very fragile, like it breaks easily, and it also makes it very difficult for it to separate and pull apart. So right now we're just going to rinse this in the sink for a second. At this point, we want the pasta to be easily workable. So we don't want it sticking together and also ready to break once you try to wrap it around. Now, this may seem like a lot of work. Definitely not something you want to do when you've only got 20 minutes to prepare dinner. But if you ever have the time to do it, this is something very special. And at the end of it, you'll see why. Once we have the shrimp wrapped in the pasta, as you can see, the shrimp is still raw. Pasta's cooked, shrimp is not. So we're going to wrap the shrimp in the pasta, and then we're going to actually cook the shrimp. We're going to saute it on the stove. Shrimp is very quick to cook, almost like eggs. Eggs take about 30 seconds. If you're making scrambled eggs, maybe 2 minutes if you're making an omelet or something. But just like eggs, you don't want to overcook it. A lot of times people do that. Same thing with shrimp. People want to cook it way longer than necessary. Shrimp only takes about 2 minutes at most on each side. So once we have these all wrapped up in the pasta, we're going to go over to the stove and we're going to saute them in a little bit of olive oil. We're going to cook the shrimp, and then the pasta is actually going to crisp up. And that's the nice thing about this dish. I like texture differences. Once we cook the shrimp and not overcook it, the shrimp is going to be nice and soft and succulent. The pasta on the outside is going to have a crisp shell. So it's going to be like hard and soft at the same time. Okay, so we've got our shrimp wrapped in the pasta. We're going to put that to the side and cook that in just one moment. But right now, we're going to make the vinaigrette. So to make the vinaigrette, it is olive oil and vinegar. It's the start of every vinaigrette. It's an emulsification process. So you have to whip the vinegar at a very high speed and add the olive oil slowly. And as you do that, you'll see it start to thicken up, and that's how it becomes a vinaigrette. So we're going to start off with some red wine vinegar. Going to add that into this nice food processor that's going to do the work for me. Now, as far as amounts, I'll give you the ratio. It's usually about 3 to 1 vinegar to oil. Or I'm sorry, the opposite, 3 to 1 oil to vinegar. So whatever amount of oil you put in, you want to put about 3 times that amount of olive oil. Or any other type of oil that you want to use. Can you cut for a second? Okay, so we've got the vinegar in there. We're going to get started blending it. Okay, that's gone. This is olive oil. You have to add it slowly. As you can see, it's a nice, slow drizzle. As the olive oil gets in there and adds to the vinegar, it's going to start to thicken up. It's called an emulsification process. Basically, emulsification means to to thicken something by adding something else slowly. This is the base of our vinaigrette, red wine vinegar and olive oil. Then we're going to add a couple other things to it just to spice it up some. Looks to be just about done. We're going to cut that off. Check out the consistency. See if we need to adjust it some. Now, as we can see, it is almost there. I think I'm going to add a little more oil to it. I told you the ratio is 3 to 1. I add about a cup and a half of vinegar in here. I had a cup of vinegar in here. I have about 2 cups in total. So I need to add about 1 more cup of oil to get it to the exact consistency that I want it to be. I'm using just regular olive oil. Cut it back on. I think that should be about good. Let's check it out. If you can tell the difference, I can see already. It's about the consistency that we wanted. It's a vinaigrette, not a paste, so you don't want it to be too thick, but you don't want it to be vinegar. You don't want it to be water thin. So you add enough to make it, I guess I'd say, comparable to a vinaigrette. But yes, the vinaigrette consistency should be thick enough to coat the lettuce, but not too thick so that it clumps on the lettuce. So basically, the consistency is that's desired is something chefs would use a term called nappe. It's a French word, just means to coat a spoon. So as you can see, if I put the spoon in here, it coats the back of the spoon. It doesn't stick to it. It doesn't drip off of it. It coats it and then drips off. So just an idea of the exact consistency that you want to use. Now we're going to remove the vinaigrette from the blender. We're going to put it into a bowl, and then we're going to whisk in some of these other additions I mentioned earlier for the added flavor. So we've got the base for our vinaigrette right here, which is just olive oil, red wine vinegar, and then we're going to add our additions to it to spice it up a bit. Although when I do this, I'm going to whisk it by hand. I don't want it to emulsify, blend too much. That's why I'm taking it out of the blender, gonna put it in a bowl and just whisk it by hand as I add the additions. Now, whenever you're using the whisk in a bowl, there's a little trick you can use at home. Take a wet cloth and put it underneath the bowl. And that will actually help keep the bowl stable, so as you whisk, it doesn't move around the table and get away from you. So there's this little trick you can use to help you do that at home. So as I said before, we've got a little marinara. I'm gonna add just a bit of that, probably about one tablespoon. I've got a little chili sauce, the sweet chili sauce. We're gonna add probably about 1 tablespoon of this as well. And then lastly, we've got some sriracha, hot chili sauce. And we're gonna add about a teaspoon of this. We don't want that to get too hot. We just want to add a little kick to it. And with anything, just add a little bit of salt to it. Salt just helps bring out the flavor that's already in there. And after that, it is about good to go. So we'll put that to the side. We're going to use that for the salad a little bit later. Okay, so we're going to get the blood oranges ready to plate it on the salad. And basically we're going to do what they call sectional cut of the oranges. So we're going to peel it. Just cut the tips off, both ends. After you cut the tips off, we're going to take the knife, start at the top, and just kind of go around the outside of it in a circle, in a circular fashion. We're going to peel it, just taking the outside skin off. Now as I do this, I'm sure you can see the color. That's why they call it blood oranges. It has a very rich and wonderful purple color to it. The taste is something between an orange and a grapefruit, and that's why we use it for this dish. It adds a nice taste to the dish, but you don't want something exactly as sweet as an orange. That's why we use the blood orange, because it has a bit of a bolder flavor than a regular orange, and it blends in with the other ingredients very nicely. So once we have it peeled, as you can see, oranges, as I'm sure you've had one before, they have different segments to it. You can pull apart an orange and separate it, but instead of just pulling it apart and separate it, we're going to cut it from the outside. And when we do this, it's going to remove all the peel, all the extra outside skin that is usually associated with the orange. So as you can see, it has the different lines in it, which shows you the different segments. You take your knife, start at the outside of one of the lines, cut in until you basically reach the center. Your knife will kind of show you when to stop. You go to the other side, you cut in until it reaches the center, and you see what you get out is pure orange, no skin, no peel. And you just kind of continue around the entire orange until everything is out. They call this supreme, and I guess they say that because you must be supreme to get this sort of treatment. When I was younger, I just had to eat the skin and peel, and I was told that was good fiber, which it is, but at the same time, when you get to advanced, very gourmet preparations, they take it to the supreme level of removing everything that you don't want in your mouth. So that's pretty much how you do it. We've supremed this blood orange, We've put them to the side, and we'll come back to it one of the last toppings on our salad. So now we're going to cook the pasta to get it ready to wrap around the shrimp. We've got a pot of boiling water right here. We're going to put the pasta in there. Another tip for at home, whenever you cook pasta, two things you want to add in addition to the boiling water. You want to add a little salt. That helps raise the temperature of the water so it boils a little more vigorously, and it also adds a little flavor to the pasta. Second thing you want to add is oil. You can use any type of oil you want. If you're making an Asian dish, sesame oil might be a good addition. Right now I'm just going to use olive oil. And what the oil helps do is basically help the pasta from sticking together. We've got our pasta. Just going to drop it into boiling water. Whenever you cook pasta, you want to stir it up as it's cooking. When you first put it in, at least one time during the cooking process, and also then again at the end of the cooking process. Because the only issue that you may have with cooking pasta is it's sticking together. Pasta is very starchy, so if you don't move it around and let that hot water get in between the different pasta noodles or sheets or sticks, whatever, it will stick together. And when it sticks together, it will not cook all the way. It's not usable, especially for the preparation that we're doing today. And it's a waste of pasta. So once we've got that going, this angel hair is going to take about maybe 4 minutes to cook. Different stoves cook different ways, so I won't give you an exact time. But angel hair pasta is very thin. It cooks very quickly, and you don't want to overcook it. So what we're going to do is stir this up, give it about 4 minutes, then we're going to take it out, and we're going to drain the water and then get it ready to use. So it's been about 3-4 minutes. Pasta's ready. I'm just going to stir it around 1 second. Make sure everything is separated and loose. We're going to take it off the stove, drop it into a colander. Which gets rid of the hot water and starts to stop the process of stopping cooking the pasta. Now, one thing people typically do right now at this point is put cold water over it. If you've overcooked the pasta, you definitely want to put cold water on it, because when I say it start to stop the cooking process, I meant that because even though we've taken it out of the hot water and taken it off the stove, it's still cooking right now because it's still very hot. So if you've already overcooked it, you want to put cold water on it to cool it down. But if you do things properly, you don't want to do that step, because when you put cold water on it, it rinses off the starch off the pasta, which typically we want to help the sauce stick to it in whatever dish you're using. And also you rinse off the salt from the pasta, which we've just added to give the pasta a little flavor. So again, I didn't cook it for 8-10 minutes. I cooked it for 3-4 minutes. So it's good to go right now. I don't have to add any cold water to it. So we're going to take it over here, put it to the table, and start to wrap our shrimp with. The shrimp, we're going to saute it. And to saute just means to cook it in a pan with a light amount of oil, basically just enough to coat the pot. When you deep fry something, that means something is immersed all the way in oil. When you saute it, it's just coated in oil. So we're going to put a little olive oil in there. And we had the pot heating up. Anytime you cook seafood, you want the pan to be very hot. So I've preheated the pan. It's been heating up for a while. And whenever you heat a pan, to know if it's heated to the proper temperature, once you put the oil in there, it should run smoothly. That's why I'm kind of showing you how it's moving around. The oil looks like water right now because it's showing this is the proper temperature. We've got the oil in there. We take our wrapped shrimp. I'm going to place it in there. Now again, we don't want to deep fry it, so we don't have a lot of oil in there, but the oil helps make the pasta crisp. So you do want to have enough oil in there so it helps crisp the pasta up, and also so the pan doesn't burn as it's heating up. You got enough little oil in there. It's going to take about 2 minutes on each side. Take out our pair of tongs. And then also, because it is a little oil involved, once we take it out the pan, we're going to put it on some napkins just to help absorb that oil so you're not taking in more oil than you need to do. So it's been about 2 minutes on this side. We're going to flip them over. Cook the other side for another 2 minutes. And how you know it's ready is the angel hair pasta is going to have a nice gold brown color. It's going to start to turn brown. So before I even flip this, you can see it's brown on the bottom. I know it's ready. I'm going to turn it over. You see it has a nice gold brown color on that side. It's going to take about another 2 minutes over here. Shrimp, when it's raw, it's translucent. When it cooks, it's white. So again, people overcook proteins most often, and shrimp definitely more than anything else. So I said 2 minutes, 3 minutes on each side. These are actually ready. So I'm going to take these out. Most preparations with shrimp, or many of them, you remove the shell and also the tail, which is this piece right here. But for this particular preparation, use of the shrimp, we're going to leave the tail on because it helps us handle it as we cook it and plate it. Cut the stove off. Now, as you can see, once it's cooked, the pasta has a very nice gold brown color. Now it's got a very nice crispy, crunchy texture to it. The shrimp is barely just cooked, so it's still soft and succulent. So it's got that texture dichotomy that I spoke of before that I enjoy. Crispy outside, soft inside, deliciousness in your mouth. Let's go ahead and put the salad together. So first off, we're going to take the spring mix and we're going to toss it in our vinaigrette. Basically, we want to coat it in the vinaigrette so we don't have to drizzle it on top. That'll give it the perfect, proper amount. And we we have other things we're going to drizzle on top afterwards. So we're going to give the vinaigrette just a quick little extra stir because we just made the vinaigrette from scratch. And one of the old sayings, oil and vinegar doesn't mix unless you have the Ninja to put it together. So even when after it's together, it will try to separate and get away from each other. So we give it that last little mix to put it back together. We put a little vinaigrette on top, and then we're gonna, what they call toss it. Bowl is a little small, so we're not gonna toss it. We're just gonna move it around gently. But that's where the term tossed salad comes from. We put the salad and the dressing in the bowl and toss it together to mix it up. We're just gonna move it gently around so it's coated and even. So we've got our salad dressed. That's the first part of the plate. Next part is the toppings for the salad. So we got a little blue cheese crumbles. Just take a little sprinkle, put that on. We've got some walnuts. Again, we're going to take a little sprinkle, put that on. And then we've got the sectioned out blood oranges. And just to make it look pretty, we're going to kind of put that at the corners of the plate so they stand out. And we'll put a couple on top. Next, we've got our cooked wrapped shrimp. We're going to line that up. And again, that's why you leave the tail on there, so it helps you handle them, so they don't come apart, and also it gives you the right direction to put them all in. Lastly, we're going to sprinkle a little of this balsamic glaze. Now, this is balsamic vinegar. I bought the glaze from the store just to cut out one step, as I like to do whenever possible. But balsamic glaze is balsamic vinegar that you've cooked and reduced so that it gets all the water out and it gets very thick. Almost like a vinaigrette, but even a little bit thick. It gets the honey, consistency of honey. So we're gonna take that and sprinkle that across. And just put a couple more blue cheese crumbles on top. And that is it. The dish is done. We've got a wonderful salad, some fresh, summery citrus fruits on there. We've got a very crunchy, crispy, yet still succulent shrimp. A fresh, spicy, but tasty vinaigrette. And that is the dish. Hopefully, you will make it yourself at home the exact same way. If you need me to make it for you, you can always reach me. I'm Chef Ali. You can get me at chefaliatl.com. We want to thank our cameraman, our host, and our assistants. I appreciate it. It's been a wonderful evening. I've had an excellent time with you, and let's do this again next week. This is Above the Fire. You can always check us out at streamatl.net, and hope to see you there.